Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And this week we're discussing the episode Ground State. This episode originally aired October 13th, 2002, attracting approximately 4.21 million viewers. Alrighty, so let's go to the box office. Number one movie at the box office this week. Just as a refresher, last week it was Red Dragon with just over $36.5 million.
I remember this was a thing, but I'm wondering if it was enough of a thing to stick around. Nothing else is immediately coming to mind that would immediately push you out, since my last week's suggestion isn't going to be coming for another month or so, most likely.
Yes, Harry Potter is still a ways off.
Yeah, there's nothing else that immediately jumps to mind around that time.
So you're going to stick with Red Dragon?
Yeah, be safe.
It is still Red Dragon with just over 17.6 million.
Okay.
So it dropped pretty considerably weekend to weekend, but it still held the top spot.
That's understandable.
Alrighty. So number one song in America this week.
I do have one, but I think I got it mixed up with some of the other particular big hits over the summer from last week. Darn it, it's there, but I can't say the words of which one it is. But Take Clothes Off, I believe it is, by someone. But nah, I think that may be a summer release.
No, you're thinking of Hot in Here.
Okay.
No, that is not. That was a while ago. The number one song this week is A Moment Like This by Kelly Clarkson.
That was the one.
Yes.
As soon as you say it, it's just the, you were an idiot.
Alrighty, so let us get into the video games.
Indeed, because after that summer and from the last week, it was, what are the big ones?
Yes. So last week I actually went a little bit over where we should have, because we should have stopped at the 13th. But however... So this week we're going to have a shorter list because, like I said, I overstepped last time because there were a bunch of good games on the 15th. So this week we're only going to get to talk about two games, unfortunately. October 17th on the PS2 you can pick up Disney Golf, which is a game I do not remember and is probably terrible. Yeah. And on October 18th on the PS1 you can pick up Shrek Treasure Hunt, which is a game that I know to be bad.
Because, it was Shrek. And it was popular around that time, right?
I mean, Shrek was a huge hit at the time.
Yeah.
This game was just balls.
Yeah.
Because I want to say, if this is the one I think of, it's just like a collection of mini-games. Basically.
Simple little mini-games and just slap Shrek onto it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about all it was. But, oh god, you thought things were good. Oh my, there's a bunch of good stuff coming out next week. But... we will get to that when we get to it.
Indeed.
Alright, so time for the episode. So, we start off in Wisconsin in 1985. A typical start for the series.
With all the particular things, go to flashback of a person we're getting introduced to.
So we meet a young girl named Gwen as she's dropped off at the Thorpe Academy by her parents. Tightly wrapped up in a thick coat and gloves, Gwen is discouraged from touching and finds it difficult to fit in with the other children. When a young boy approaches her at recess and offers her a toy car, she makes the mistake of touching him and shocking the boy with a fatal bolt of electricity. At Cordelia's apartment, Fred packs up Cordy's things because they can't afford to keep paying the rent. As Wesley and his gang fight off two large demons, Angel arrives and tries to thank Wesley for rescuing him, and to recant his promise to never forgive him for stealing Connor. Wesley, however, isn't interested in Angel's apologies. Wesley thinks Cordy is still alive, but in another dimension, and he would be correct. Gwen, now a young woman, waltzes into a restaurant dressed in red leather, attracting the attention of all the men. I mean, it is a hell of a look.
Yeah.
She's got the leather pants, the leather top, and then the gloves. It's a hell of a look.
Indeed.
She meets a businessman named Elliot who wants Gwen to steal the axes for his personal collection. Fred gives a presentation that explains the axis of Pythia, allows the user to see any person in the countless dimensions. Her drawings are overshadowed by Angel's artistic abilities. They learn that the Axis is located at an auction house with extensive security and gather the equipment they'll need while elsewhere. Gwen gets ready to steal the Axis herself. Lila and Wesley share some small talk about work while they romp around his apartment together. Gwen expertly makes her way into the building where the Axis is held. Only a short distance behind her, Angel, Gunn, and Fred break into the building as well. Angel checks out the vault, but laser beams block his entrance, and then the gate is completely dropped, blocking his path. Gwen drops down from the ceiling and manipulates the beams out of her way. While Angel questions who she is and her intentions, she steals the Axis and prepares to leave. Gunn shows up to help Angel while Fred triggers an alarm that encourages Gwen's fast retreat. Once the gate has been lifted out of the way, Gunn tries to grab Gwen before she can get away, but is instead struck by a fatal blow by Gwen. It's the whole electricity thing.
Yes.
Guilt-ridden at the thought of killing yet another innocent person, Gwen knocks Angel and a grieving Fred out of the way and restarts Gunn's heart. Because again, electricity. Because that's how science works.
Clear.
I mean, kinda. Later, Angel runs into Lila while looking over Connor, who's now living outdoors with a bunch of homeless people. Angel threatens her into telling him which Wolfram Hart client is buying the Axis of Pythia from Gwen. Gunn rests up in bed while Fred releases her feelings about the overwhelming elements of her life. Gunn's brief death and her constant responsibilities in the gang, and she yells at Gunn and finally breaks down into tears. Angel finds Gwen on the way to deliver the Axis, and the two fight. Gwen repeatedly tries to shock Angel to death, which causes his heart to beat for a moment, and the two kiss. Both are surprised by the sudden life in Angel's heart, and then bars cover the elevator doorway and Elliot shows up. He explains that because of her terrible theft job, she has to be killed. And the elevator has been changed so that Gwen has no access to the electrical charge that would allow her to escape when the elevator is filled with gas. Once the door closes, Gwen struggles not to inhale while Angel punches a hole through the thick plastic wall until Gwen can reach the wires and the two are able to escape. Angel fights with Elliot's lackeys and Gwen focuses her attention on Elliot. Angel stops her from killing him and then she lets Angel leave with the Axis. Back at the hotel, one of the rooms glows a bright gold while Gunn and Fred wait impatiently outside the closed door. Angel exits the room, leaving a slightly glowing Axis behind him. The three sit in the lobby and talk about what Angel saw and try to deal with her new role. Meanwhile, high in the heavens, Cordelia watches the three of them and shouts at them from her higher life, asking if they're deficient.
Yeah.
So, what do we think about this episode?
It was definitely interesting, at least sort of adding little bits of points in an introduction to the character, showing her abilities, her skills, whatnot from there.
Yeah, Gwen's kind of a fun character that we get to meet, and we will get to see her a few more times.
Again, also the case of her interactions with Angel, just the case that her abilities are null, with his not being affected too much by electricity.
Yes.
But enough that it was actually enough to make his heart beat in his condition. Just kind of the case of,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I like Gwen as a character because I think she's fun. But, like I said, unfortunately, don't get too attached. She isn't going to be around forever. She's not going to be like a main cast member or anything. Like, she'll pop up a few times, but...
And then, of course, hopefully the case of they don't go around the route of, we're going to kill the character, but not really, because they took out Gunn, and just the case of, fuck. But then he brought it back with typical sort of things like, geez, don't fucking make this a typical thing.
Yeah, I would be really surprised, even if on a Joss Whedon show they killed the character on episode 2. I could see it in a premiere or a finale, but episode 2 would feel weird. Yeah. I could even see doing it like in the middle of the season. But yeah, that would feel weird. Anyway, so let us talk about some international titles quickly. So in German, it's not very imaginative. It's just the Axis of Pythia. However, French got it going on.
Oh.
And maybe this is just because I'm a mark for Scooby-Doo. But the French title translates as to Cordelia, where are you?
Jeez.
The one thing I wish is that they had a Buffy episode that was titled that way. Because they were the Scooby Gang.
Mm.
They should have had an episode titled like that. Anything else we need to bring up for this episode?
I think it was fairly good with the interaction with Fred and Gunn, with what happened to him within the episode and her concerns and things with that. Adding that additional little bit to their relationship and how much they've sort of been acting with the 3 month jump of all the stuff that's been going on and how much it's kind of weighing a little bit on them.
Yeah. I do like that we get to meet Dinza in this episode, who is real creepy, and who Angel is a real smartass too.
Indeed. It pretty much matches up perfectly. In the case of Be Careful, she kind of has a tendency of keeping the things that go to visit her. But just the case of at the end, it's like, aren't you going to let me hang around? She comes up and it's just, but you got so many more things to lose. Just the case of, that sadly tracks.
It does, yes. I also love how Angel at one point asks her if she knows where Jimmy Hoffa is. And I was like, that's very good. Do you know who Jimmy Hoffa was?
Sadly, no.
Okay. Jimmy Hoffa in the 20th century was a labor leader. Read mafioso, but nobody could actually prove he was in the mob. But he was in the mob.
Yeah.
There's numerous theories as to where his body was buried. One of them was under a football stadium. Anyway, so next week we will be discussing a little episode called "The House Always Wins." No, they're going on a road trip. It's good. Tired of dealing with Connor and looking for Cordelia, Angel decides to take Gunn and Fred on a road trip to Vegas. They're going to go visit Lauren, who's performing in a showcase at one of the casinos. They discover that Lauren is being coerced by the casino owner into stealing the significant destinies of audience members to sell on the black market. When the casino owner learns that Angel is destined to play a major role in the apocalypse, Cordelia must come to his aid from a distance to prevent his future from being stolen. Because Angel is an important boy in the apocalypse.
Ain't he just?
Well, maybe. Anyway, unless you have something else to add, David.
No, I think that covers it with this episode.
Alrighty, well that is going to be it for this week. I've been Paul.
And I've been Dave.